But like, I'm guessing before a certain age, like it's more wood than anything else.
Yeah, and lead paint.
That's it.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I'll open up to public comments. Do you have anyone? Any public comments? You, sir.
Greg Newell, Hermon. I'm wondering, is the technology plan that was created going to be shared? And then I saw a server update on there, and this might be answered in the meeting, but how many total physical servers do we have now? And then, if possible, tell us new versus old, and then how many VMs are we running? And that's all I have. Thank you.
So for the server update, the biggest thing that we have right now is we have migrated all of our virtual machines off of the big server disaster that I inherited. So we moved that to a new server, one of the new servers I purchased, and moved everything there. There's still a couple old virtual servers on like our first class email server, and there's a ProFund server that we have to keep for archival purposes. So we haven't pulled those off completely yet, but once I do, we'll be able to turn all of those Linux servers off. So that's tentatively going to be done within the next couple of weeks here. That being said, the old servers that are running in that server room, there will be 22 of them being turned off. The high school power bill, a minimum will drop about $500 a month. And that's like a minimum. That doesn't count cooling. That's just the data those servers are pulling. All of those virtual machines running on those servers, the ones that we need to have, there's like 5 virtual machines running on 2 servers, 2 physical servers. And then we have 2 camera servers, and I believe that's all we have. So we've downsized significantly from what the DNS Audit report said last October.
So if I got that right, there's 2 servers for the virtual machines and 2 for the camera, so 4 servers in all.
Yes. Well, sorry, there's one more. I have a data backup server at the superintendent's office, so 5 servers.
That's cool, though.
That's a brand new one I just purchased. We ended up, yes. That's a brand new server for a cloud backup solution. So it'll back up the server, all the servers, the virtual ones, to that one server, and that one server will upload all of our data to the cloud for offsite storage in case of, say, a ransomware attack spreads to the network. All of our stuff is in the cloud, it's air gapped, so we'd be able to get back up and running relatively quickly if something like that were to occur. Yeah, of course.
I remember during the tour that there was some electrical issues coming out of the ceiling that shouldn't have been that way in the server room. Those things getting tablets and stuff coming.
Yeah,
coming out of the ceiling.
I have seen that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I haven't looked into that or had an electrician come in and say, yes, this is good, yes, this is bad. It's definitely something I will be looking into over the summer, just having someone come in that's certified and say, yep, this is good, or let's redo this somehow. I agree, I don't want there to be a fire hazard in there.
Yeah. And then when you said camera servers, is that still the same virus that you were using before?
Yes. I will touch base, actually the next agenda item talks about some security camera stuff we've got in the works. Any other questions on the server stuff at all? So the security camera project, we have a little bit of extra money to spend this year, so we're looking into having a company come in and overhaul the security system. So we're talking the addition of 30 new security cameras and replacing all the existing cameras that are in all the buildings. This also comes with 2 brand new servers to store all the camera data, and that will also enable us to have at least 30 days of footage retention. I'm not quite sure how much retention we have now, but I don't think it's 30 days. So it'll be almost double.
30 new and then replacing all of the current?
Yes, I believe the total that I walked through with the guy was 90 cameras total across the whole district. So 90. including the new ones.
Did that go up for bids?
I looked at a couple different options. We haven't fully decided on a vendor. I looked at an option where we go through and do the cameras ourselves. I looked at an option where we have a company come in, and I looked at another DIY option. I'm going to look and see if I can find another vendor to give me a quote, but we are on quite the time crunch to get the cameras in and then get that paid for before the end of June. So that's one of those things that we're going to have to see.
So you're using it out of the 2023 fourth budget?
Yes. Yeah, we have some stuff in the upcoming budget, so the way we are hoping to split it up, if we go with a company, which is kind of the way I'm reading, having someone who specializes in this, put all the cameras in, they'll identify the proper spots and best way to handle the cameras. We're looking at buying the cameras and physical hardware of this year's budget and having them do the install of next year's budget, because I had some money budgeted for cameras at this year's.
Is this in correlation with Homeland Security as
Um,
well?
I'm not sure if anything was mentioned on that report, but I went up on this
I
on
just,
my,
when you said security or doors, I'm just thinking that they might have input too of where it's beneficial.
yeah.
So, I mean, speaking from the middle school's perspective, I walked around with the individual from Homeland Security and we discussed areas that we had concern, and when Alex and I met last week, we reviewed where the cameras would be, they were based on the areas of concern that we had.
Yeah, we did the same thing. We were severely lacking. Yeah.
Just, so there was
The
another-
new plan will address the exterior too, I hope.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
It feels even, I mean, 30's not a lot, so I don't even mind, but it's,
And from the middle school perspective, you can never be 100% unless you go and spend $5 million. But based on the areas that we had concerns, the 98% of those concerns have been addressed.
And we can always add new cameras in the future as well. We're not capped, I believe, with the two, because it's each camera server we're buying is capable of 64 cameras, so we're buying 2 of them. So we still have room to add an additional 30 or so if we needed to. So if in case I missed anything or we have another dead zone we identify, we can definitely add another. So
you're bringing hardwired.
yes. So hopefully we can get that in the works before the end of June and go from there. So very excited about that. And that will essentially eliminate those 2 servers. So I don't believe the new cameras, they're technically called NVR network video recorders, so I don't even know if they're classified as a server at that point. So that might be 2 more out of commission, which is nice. Right. And any other questions on the security camera stuff at all?
Could I ask something?
Yes, no, definitely, sir.
I know the high school has one up on the tower.
Yes.
Is that, I've seen the video of it, it's not the greatest, so is that something that was taken into account of when replacing them to get something that's a little more robust for the distance it's traveling to view? Because they would try to see what the kids were doing out in the far end of the parking lot, and it becomes really grainy at that point in time. I'm not sure if that was on your radar or not.
I don't actually think I took that one into consideration, so that's a good point. Let me make a note and I'll get with the company and make
There's
sure they
like
add
that
something
one
that needs
somewhere else where it doesn't need to see as far, if you did invest in a higher quality one, that one. somewhere else.
Yeah, my thought is get the camera mounted on the building and off the tower and just aim it out, because I don't even know if we need that tower anymore, which is a whole separate thing, because I don't think there's anything in use on there besides that camera.
Okay. Well, I wasn't sure. So.
No, definitely, I appreciate it, thank you.
Yep.
We definitely want to see the parking lot, so who knows what's going on there. So it's good.
Yeah, there was issues last year behind the school, I guess, and
And I don't think there's a camera back there, which is,
Yeah.
no bueno. So I did go ahead and send out a survey to staff members on the kind of overall performance of the network. Have you noticed any improvement? Are there areas in the building you notice issues, or the times of day? So I did send it out, and I want to clarify before I put the results up that this wasn't, the goal of this survey wasn't to say, hey, look, everything's perfect. Everything's not perfect. We know the work is not fully complete. So I'm excited the results came back the way they did, but it also points out that there is room for improvement, and that's something that will be addressed over the summer. So I'm putting in.
that survey results are sometimes good, because then you show growth,
Exactly.
show improvement.
Which is my hope. And I think it definitely shows that.
How many people did you survey?
I sent this out to all staff. I didn't do a student survey on this one, so I believe there's 220 people on that list who got that survey. And I had 75 responses. I did send it out twice. I sent it out 1 week, and then the next week I sent out a follow-up saying, hey, just a reminder, like, please give us your feedback. I want to get to the bottom of things. So I did remove names in classrooms just to protect people's confidentiality. The scale for how to rate this, so how would you rate the Wi-Fi network performance after the return from April break? Great is the best. Then there's good, okay, and awful. So awful is an option. Only one person responded to this survey saying connectivity was awful. And that was last week when we were aware of some pretty significant network issues that were happening last Friday. I will talk about that here in a minute. So most staff members said the network was good, great. That was the majority of the responses we got. However, when asked to explain further, some people said I frequently lose connection over the last week. I lose connection at least once a week. So definitely there's, like this one, no noticeable improvements. So this person does not notice any improvement since we got the firewall in. Let's see.
Alex, did you isolate by building?
Yes, I did. So I can see what building on the side here. So everything's live in my room. There's times it doesn't work today, so it's definitely not ideal. We're definitely not where we want to be, and that's the fact of the matter. Which is it's good to hear that feedback because I hadn't heard anything. And when you don't hear anything, it's hard to know. Like, hey, I did this firewall thing. Are we getting anywhere? So it was nice to get this feedback, even though it's not great and glowing with, yeah, my internet's fantastic. It's nice to hear that some people have said there's like good, positive changes. So I know changes I made recently, which do seem to have helped. Before these changes, my students I frequently lost connection. I'd have to walk down the hall in order to regain connection. We're still seeing some slower, inconsistent connections, but much less than before. So it's nice to hear some feedback like that. Over this past weekend, I had a lot of complaints about internet connectivity Friday and last week in our schools. And what was happening is I sent this survey out, and I was like, okay, how can I address this? A company had reached out to me, and they said, hey, we have this really cool device. We can put it into one of your schools, and it will scan the Wi-Fi, and will identify misconfigurations. It'll tell you kind of basically a net Wi-Fi engineer, then an AI Wi-Fi engineer, essentially. It identified several things wrong with our network, several things. And in the process of trying to address those, following the recommendations, it made things worse. And that's kind of what ended up happening last week. And it's one of those things where you change it, and you have to wait and hear the feedback. So we heard the feedback, we reverted it, and then made some pretty significant changes over the weekend, which has us pretty far ahead in my timeline of things. The network, the Wi-Fi piece has been segmented across all the schools now. So the high school, middle school, and elementary school cannot talk to each other on the Wi-Fi, where that previously was something they could do, which is now it's set up kind of the way it's supposed to. Still not fully done, but in a much better spot than we were before.
How does that impact testing? Like retesting the different buildings?
It shouldn't have any impact in the different buildings. As far as when I say the devices talking to each other, I mean like I have a laptop here, my computer can't see a teacher's MacBook on the network over at the elementary school. So for testing and stuff, they should be able to reach straight back out to the internet and test from there.
So we stagger testing in the different schools to avoid snafus within the network.
Yes.
Sometimes we are lucky, and sometimes, like last week, we were not so lucky. And every time we try to test, it kicks us off. I will say today's internet was the best we've had in a year. Is there going to be a point where we're going to be able to successfully test the entire district at one time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yep, that would be possible next school year. Technically, arguably, it's probably possible now, but we're too little, too late.
So
So.
Zach and I will no longer have to arm wrestle for the first.
Because it's not.
Tired of losing.
I haven't won yet.
Well,
Yeah.
if you're segmented,
Very
you wouldn't have to arms, right? Now, or is that just the Wi-Fi that's segmented?
It's the Wi-Fi that's segmented now. Over the summer, that includes the segmenting of the wired network, so like printers and stuff. The cameras will be separated out. Phones will be separated out as well. So, and that's kind of the finishing stage to the project. I couldn't go on ahead and do the full project this past weekend because every single copier, camera, and everything would need to be reconfigured, which I could not have done that in
You
one
would have
weekend.
torches.
So.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was like, I can deal with a couple of the small issues we had this morning. So,
And we had, when we first got there this morning, the entire school had no internet. And within 30 seconds, you were able to fix the issue.
I
And then,
was-
again, we've had the best day since. So my hope is that it was just a switch on.
yeah, it was just a switch on. I missed something when I set it up, so my bad, but it was a quick fix. So. But that's the hope. We are in a good spot. It's not a bandwidth issue as testing. It's too many devices can see each other. It creates a lot of interference. One of the things this Wi-Fi device that analyzes the Wi-Fi picked up on and said was a cause of a lot of our issues was having all the smart boards on the Wi-Fi. They takes up the way they transmit traffic, slows things down, and can bring things to a crawl. And when you have 150 of those and 150 teachers wirelessly casting to those boards, that's
Wow.
a lot of traffic on one single network where they can all talk. So it caused a lot of interference throughout the day. So now that they're separated, hopefully we'll see how things go the next couple of weeks. And then over the summer we'll finish our project and get things where they need to be, which I'm very excited about.
Do you plan to get any feedback from the students? I mean, it's too late at this time of year. I don't see it as being beneficial, but
Yeah.
next year when you clean things up and you get back into school, you see if there are feedback that
Yes.
there are issues on their
Yeah.
end too.
I definitely want to get their feedback. The one thing we need to be mindful of is the quality of that feedback. For example, the kids come back from April break and they find out they can't use their VPNs anymore. Are they going to say the network's now bad because they can't do the VPN? Because to me, that's a good thing. But to them, that's a bad thing because now they can't do whatever they want on our network.
We
So
could work on questions that
Yeah.
could be formulated, like,
I like that.
that it's specific to narrowing that stuff out, saying,
Yeah.
are you able to use docs such and such? Are you able to formulate emails, or are you finding you have good connection, or are you watching videos that is flowing, things like that actually do impact them? I'm not sure if you guys would have more input of what hiccups you might see during the day, but
No, that's a good call. If I use the same survey I use for staff, it will not give us the results we want. So if we kind of narrow it down to, like you said, like
something specific to their needs
Exactly.
versus
how's the internet?
yeah,
How would you rate the speed when you're using Google Classroom?
is
That
it
would
loading
be-
quickly or
Exactly.
slowly?
Probably want it geared toward middle and high school.
Yeah,
Yeah, elementary school,
They just don't use it enough,
they don't use enough and they're not at that level.
and
of
they're not
usage.
gonna be able to answer those questions back.
So,
Did you say though that is middle school, the fifth graders planning on taking laptops home? I wasn't 100%
So
sure why.
because we're going to Chromebooks, which are a much less expensive option, we will allow fifth graders to bring them home again next year. Again, the issue with our laptop we had this year is if a student broke it, it was an incredibly expensive machine, which they're really using for a digital notebook. I mean, the reality is that in schools, middle school, except for maybe our STEM class in 8th grade, they're really using it as like Google Docs and Google PowerPoint and being able to search the internet for items they need for the class. They're not doing any high-end stuff on it and getting a product that is much more aligned to the needs of our students. That is a much more reasonable price point range, where if it breaks, it's $250, not $1,000. I'm much more comfortable sending that home to a student.
So, but those laptops for the fifth graders are going to sixth?
Yes, but we're still going to allow them to send it home because at some point they need them at home to be able to do the work.
Yeah.
So the goal is, again, transition everybody to Google Chrome over the next 4 years and allow our sixth graders who haven't had it home, will be able to bring it home, knowing that it's being phased out.
And the other thing too, repair costs, replacement costs isn't something we really have to worry about unless the device is like gone. The devices we're purchasing from the state include 3 years of accidental damage protection. So for the first 3 years, we don't have to worry about it. And on year 4, at that point, it's a 4-year-old device. So it's probably been beaten on enough, we can replace it. So
The eighth graders were, sorry, did you? The eighth graders remind me that have the iPads, we're doing away with those, and they're getting fresh laptops as freshmen.
Yes, they're getting the Google Chromebooks as well.
yes,
And then we're giving the iPads to elementary school.
that's the plan if we have a spot for them or if there's a device that's getting old. So I'll meet with you at some point. We'll get those swapped out over the summer.
I would like to see iPads across the board for elementary school, just for what they use. They're not using the devices like the middle school students. And we are also not sending any devices home to elementary school. I just think for safety at that age, there's nothing that they are doing for work, for homework, that cannot be done in a different mode. And so keeping technology on site at the elementary school, I think is the best thing. So,
Yeah, and we have spoken about this. iPads work a little better for elementary school just because of the simplicity of use. You don't have to sign in. We don't have to worry about email passwords. Oh, I forgot my password. Like that would happen a lot. And the cost of an iPad for an elementary school student versus the cost of a Chromebook are relatively similar, especially without the risk of sending the device home to get damaged. It'll be in a cart out of the school. So a lot of those pricey risks of having an Apple device in the classroom go away when it's not sent home.
So has the survey driven you to any action items, directions you think about?
It confirmed what I thought. It confirmed that we have some improvement, but we're not done.
So validated steps you've already taken.
Yes, it validated the steps I've taken, like the firewall, that we are heading in the right direction. And this agenda was finalized last week, so I didn't have a chance to put the stuff I did over the weekend on here, which that was driven by the results of this survey and the feedback I received from staff. So I'm hopeful over the next couple of weeks we'll see if these changes have done good things for us, but I don't want to jinx myself quite yet. I want to wait and see where we're at. But I'm hopefully I can be really excited about this in a couple of weeks. So
One of the things that Alex explained to me was, say each one of these tables is a classroom, right? And you've got AP in each of the 6 classrooms. Well, the AP in this classroom was set to such a high strength that students in this classroom and the classrooms adjacent to it were picking up on this AP. So all of a sudden this AP was getting overloaded and we weren't using the APs productively. So a lot of it was reconfiguring so that way this AP is really just focused on the area that it should be focused on. So reducing the capacity actually down to where it should be rather than extending it. Because when everything extended over each other, that's where we created a lot of these network issues that, yeah.
Trying to connect all
exactly,
the time.
that causes a lot of interference. I mean, there's only so many Wi-Fi channels available to us, and we have 30-something access points in middle school, and only 3 channels that don't overlap with each other on specific bands. So that's a lot of interference to filter through. If the devices aren't changing access points properly, it's not a good thing. So I don't think that was the main cause of our issues, but definitely something that was not doing us any favors. I'll say that much. So.
Good job finding a solution too and figuring that out. I mean, you've had a lot of things to navigate all at once, so
Yeah.
you're doing a great job.
Yeah, my hope for this equipment that we have now is it's going to get us another year or 2, and hopefully by then we'll have some of our E-rate funding available and we can do a complete network overhaul. So, because this equipment's not bad, it was replaced within the last 2 years, so I would have felt bad replacing it. So I'm glad I can reconfigure it and do a workable fashion. So. Awesome, and that is what I have for agenda items, but I do want to take a moment if anyone has any questions for me about IT stuff, anything at all, I'm open. So,
How's Power School going?
I haven't really been involved in that too much. I think we are making progress very, very slowly. Todd is sifting through a very similar mess just in the Power School world. And it's really hard for him because any change he makes, it'll mess something else up and you might not know for a few days, and it's hard to pinpoint where things are because there's so many years of things just being mismatched together. That's where he's sifting through. So I think Zach and Melissa could speak to that better.
I think he's reconciled a lot of the errors that we were seeing in Power School. I know the last time that we did, he helped us with report cards, it went much smoother than it had ever gone. So I think he's certainly making progress, but it was
It's
a
a
big
lot.
tangle. It was a big tangle. I'm reminded of if you've ever seen National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, it comes up with a giant ball of lights. Like that's kind of what I feel like Power School
That's a
is.
fair analogy.
But I think he's making a lot of progress on it.
Absolutely, every couple weeks or every week, if not even more often, we're getting an email from him saying, can you look at this data? Because there were so many additional things in Power School that were not being utilized or things set to the incorrect settings. For instance, at the middle school, we had something like 800 courses. We have like 30 courses. So all of that extra data on the back end, all configured differently than the way it should be, is bogging down and creating issues within our system. There's classes that have different grading scales compared to what they should, and there's a lot of fixing. And what I really appreciate about Todd is he's taking the time, collecting the data, and a lot of the changes you can't actually make till the summer because all of a sudden you make a change and then it changes people's transcripts and it changes people's GPAs. And
Everybody's
It's
freaking
like
out.
so, what he's really doing is getting a really good inventory of where it is and working directly with Power School on how to make it right for next year, because I don't think we'll be sitting anywhere where we are right now next year.
Starting
Yeah.
the right way will make a big difference.
Yeah, definitely.
His problem is he can't go, like, some of it we can revert to configurations. If you mess something up in the power school, it's not necessarily a revert, it's
Dominoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a, oh crap, now what do I do?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because you don't necessarily know what is attached to something else. So in the process of fixing one area, you may crash a completely separate area. So it's definitely a big ball of
But
light.
it's on the cloud now, and
Yeah.
that's all gonna be smoother, make it work smoother.
security wise, it's
Security-
much better.
Security wise, version wise, we'll be able to keep up with the most updated, version. We're not on the latest yet. That's a hard transition to do mid-year because the next version, the interface is very different looking. It's, we wanna start a school year fresh with an entirely new look.
Because there may be some staff training involved.
There could be.
I don't have anything on this specific agenda. I do want to share an update on inventory.
Oh, yeah, I was trying to ask about that.
Yeah, completely skipped my mind for this agenda. Inventory, we have started. We have inventoried staff devices at the middle school and elementary school. And then we'll be inventorying high school devices here either at the end of this week or beginning of next week. So, and then student devices, our goal is to do those over the summer. That way we'll have most of them turned into us and we can inventory them that way.
High school takes theirs home.
I don't know whether they do it or not. We don't do it.
The high school is practice, let's do it.
Okay, we'll have to have a discussion on that. So we have started, so we're in a good spot there. We have purchased asset tags that we're putting on devices as well. Property and Hermon School Department, they're made of aluminum, they're pretty hard to rip off and destroy, and that's what should have been being done, so it's nice that we're getting those put on there. So, and then we do have our help desk set up as well. We're not rolling it out this school year, we're gonna do that next school year. If we roll it out now, all the staff members are gonna forget, and there's no point. So we'll have it rolled out beginning of next school year, that way it's fresh in people's minds.
Remind me who that's gonna be through.
That's through Frontline.
Thank you. Good, that's question.
So lots of things going in the right direction, so
Working very hard, I appreciate it.
thank you guys. Thank you guys for giving me a chance. So awesome. Well, if there's no other questions, I think we call it a day.
328.
Oh, great, little league.
Thank you guys.
No way out today.